Good morning, you guys. It's Wednesday morning and it's a windy, rainy, ugly day out there. Holy cannoli. Anyway, I have just a few short announcements and then I'm just going to get right into the nitty gritty. I want to talk about three things today: the F1 and understanding the F code. What is that? Because I use that in my lingo all the time. And then and people say, what's that? What does that mean? So we're going to cover that. And I'm going to give you a link to a quiz. And there's no wrong answer to this quiz. So relax. And in the quiz, once you submit it, send me your mailing address. And I will send you a little fun award just for going through it. It's kind of a fun thing. So, and then we're going to talk about pedigrees and ARBA registration. So with the announcements, I have a new giveaway this week on our Discord channel. I've been having fun with this because as I'm cleaning my she shed and organizing stuff, I'm finding things that I really don't need. And last week I had an extra mouse pad that had Love Colored Giants on it. So I gave that to Logan. She won. And the week before we had a winner for one of Judith McKenzie's books. Another cup of coffee. I got up early this morning and I'm still like, and this week I have two of the same book that I uncovered, and it doesn't go in depth about Angora rabbits, but it's a very good, very well written book, and it's got an overview of nearly every aspect of the Angoras. And guess what it's called? The Nervous New Owner's Guide to Angora Rabbits. It's so appropriately named. I fell in love with it just for the title. That was pretty clever. Because boy howdy, our Angoras are intimidating, and especially any of them are. Yeah, and of course mine are the giants. They're especially intimidating by some. And so if it helps anybody, if you know anybody that would benefit from it, get on my Discord server and click on the giveaway. I have two to give away. 2 books, 2 winners this week. The deadline is Sunday. So, and then another thing I've been doing is, you might have heard me ramble about this. I'm really excited. So many things, but I'm revamping our Sinfully Soft website. I'm discontinuing Fuzzy Vaughn's. I just doesn't make sense for me to pay for 2 websites anymore. So I'm Fuzzy Vaughn's. It's under Open Herd, and I love their company. You guys, they're awesome, and their superpower is publishing animal listings nationwide. So and they do a really good job at that. I just need a little bit more at this point with my merchandise, of course, with my yarn, Sinfully Soft yarn, but I'm dabbling in t-shirts and other things, and soon coming is more online courses and material. And that software with Open Herd just doesn't cut the take. And I've been selling stuff on Etsy, and it works really well. Don't get me wrong. Etsy is just grown too big. They're asking too much, and I'm like, I can do this myself, which isn't easy. But I've been learning a lot, redesigning this website and learning what to do and what not to do. So anyway, check it out, because I've even got a tab now for the Angora Artesian Academy. And right now, I have just a small fee, or you can use the coupon code YAY, YAY, and you can get in for free. How long I'll keep that, I'm not really sure. But I think shortly after I get done with the upcoming nationals, which is in May, that's just a few weeks away, I can do a deep dive and start filling that. I have so many things I want to do, and I think there was a reason I was a little sluggish on publishing some of this stuff. Yeah, it just wasn't the right time. You know how that goes. But now it's the right time. So I have all this stuff that I've been accumulating and dabbling on for years, and now I have the confidence and the time. I'm just going to do it. And with Wix, it seems to all be coming together. And speaking of Wix, Sinfully Soft, my new I call it my new website, my redesigned website. It's getting a facelift. I just noticed, and I've had it for years, but I have my own little chat group. It's a little app on your mobile device, and I think you can access it on the computer too. I need to do some more research. I dabbled in it this morning, but I knew I was doing the live today, so I wanted to. I get so scattered brained. I have to put my blinders on, so I put that aside for a few hours. But I'm going to do a deep dive into that later today. Why haven't I really utilized that before? Because one of my pet peeves, is Facebook. I mean, it's another great giant, right? They make things easy for us to communicate and create little groups and network. But they did me wrong over the years, and I really, really don't like them anymore. Yeah, we've had a divorce, and I have visitation rights. I still visit, but I'm not going to put all my passion and time and leverage into that platform anymore. It's not cutting it. I'll tell you what happened in a nutshell, real quickly. I don't want to digress. But one morning I woke up and my account was gone. For months, nearly a year, it just disappeared. And I tried to file a grievance. No luck. I had to recreate a new account. And over 10 years, everything that I said or did, I created little groups, little knit-along groups, Arabic groups, anything I posted anywhere in Messenger or within Facebook was just poof, gone, like I didn't exist. And then it was, lesson learned, right? I put my big girl panties on and decided what am I going to do now? And in the words of God, what's her name? But the 5-second rule. Have you guys heard that? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Get your butt off the couch and just do something, whether it's right or wrong. I did that, and I dove into Discord. It's another app, and I really like Discord. It's also intimidating. I created a video, given an open house, kind of an inside look to all the nooks and crannies. I kind of got crazy with it. But I like it. So that's my main hub of communication. And that being said, with this Wix app, if you ever go to sinfullysoft.com on your phone, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe you'll be automatically asked to download the Wix app to join. It's like, and I saw somebody join the other day because all the stuff I'm doing, I'm getting more visitation to our website, which is cool. And I'm like, they joined? What the heck? What was that? So I looked at it. I actually had a giant Angora group. I had almost 20 people in that group. What? So I changed the name to that group. They used to have forums. It was like a chat. And I think that's one of the reasons I didn't do much, because I was like overwhelmed at that time and I didn't understand it. And there was too many things. So actually, it was a good thing they discontinued it. But they do have groups, and you can have private groups or public groups. So I have right now 2 groups. I'm going to keep it simple until I figure this all out. One, instead of just giant Angoras, I changed it to colored giant village, because that's my passion right now. That's my marching thing. Colored giant Angoras. And I opened it to the public. So if you get onto Sinfully Soft on your phone, I challenge you. If you're brave and willing, download the app and join our group. Yeah. Let's check it out. Let's have some fun together. So there's going to be 2 places we can really network. Primarily on the Discord, because I'm familiar with that. But up and coming is the Simply Soft Wix app. Yeah. The second group I'm keeping public, because that's only going to be open to the Fantastic 5. I'm calling them the 5 people. I'm 1. My husband is 2. My COD group. And Deidre and Lauren and Becky. They're all part of my Fantastic 5. So I have a private group for them, just so we can like communicate things on a higher level when what we're doing with the COD and the specifics. But it's not just all on that small group anymore. You've heard me probably talk about it. I won't go down it too much, but with the new COD rules with ARBA, it's no longer that small group and their closest friends. It encompasses the entire village, the entire club, everybody to work together for it to be successful. I was told that I was preaching that it was easy or easier. And they said, no, it's not. Well, the reason they said that is because you have to have that community effort. Otherwise, it's going to fail flat. And before, it was solely on that Fantastic 5, that small group. That's all it was. And for instance, just a little bit, the reason it's needed to encompass the entire community is in years past, when I did it, the animals that were presented, you had to have so many. I think the first year it was 8, and the second and third year you had to have 12. They had to be certain age groups. There was requirements, right? But they all had to be owned and bred by somebody within that COD team, that group of 5. Well, that's no longer the case. You have to have 25 of that new color variety, like in my case, the chocolate agouti, and Andrea and her team, they have to have 25 broken English Angoras. And they don't have to be from that team, but you have to have from 5 different households. Anywhere, anybody, they have to be entered and present at convention. You have to have at least 25 animals owned by 5 different households. So if I have 5 rabbits and my husband has 5, that doesn't count because we live in the same household. So already I'm down to 4 households with just my team of 5, right? And the way I'm going to utilize their new rules and really drum up, anybody, anywhere can actually participate and have their animals shown in the show string on the COD presentation. It's pretty crazy. Episode number 13 and 14 goes into a lot more detail. I got sidetracked this morning. You guys, I'm really, I do that. Can you tell I'm a little passionate about that? So let's talk about the reason we're here today is the F code. I did a blog on my old post. God, it was May of 2020. Is that right? God, it's been a little while ago. But I use the F code when I'm talking about the generations, when I'm working with hybrids or crossbreeds. And I've done plenty over the years to bring in new colors, to promote and increase the quality of my giant Angoras, whether it's the coat structure, the body type, the weight limits. Now, to be honest, I've never really had a problem with weights in my barn. I was very lucky to have a great start with Louise Walsh's trio that I had flown in from all the way from Massachusetts to Washington. Well, actually, it was Portland, Oregon. It was a whole day affair. Yeah, my husband told me it was my birthday, Christmas, and Valentine's for the next decade. It was very expensive. But I had 3 beautiful junior purebred giant Angoras, and they produced lovely animals. They were perfect. Yeah, and they never lacked in size, and none of their kids lacked either. And then I brought in some others, and I started going to national shows throughout the country and different places, and I noticed other people are having a huge issue with their giants. I had no clue. But the main issue was having them make minimum weight. Girls, as a senior at 8 months old, must be 10 pounds, and the boys must be 9.5, according to the ARBA SOP. And where's my SOP? This is the Bible. This is what we go by. ARBA. Am I holding it upside down? Hopefully not. So this is, if you go to the giant Angora section, that'll tell you everything, the specifics that you need to know. That's our Bible that we go by. So anyway, as I was dabbling with my giants, my purebreds at that time had really solid color. And bringing in other things, like I used German Angoras because they were very similar to the giants. They're different. I call them cousins. They're distantly related. But anyway, the color saturation kind of disappeared. And not completely, but it just wasn't the quality that I wanted. And if I make hand-spun quality yarn, or even now with my commercial yarns, I want a nice deep color. And some of mine that had more of a German background, for instance, I had a blue, gorgeous blue boy, great body, great wool. Face was dark blue, the short hair was beautiful blue. When he grew out his coat over a year old, you turn him butt to butt next to a white rabbit, you couldn't hardly tell them apart. He was so washed out. The guard hairs were a very, very slight gray tinge, very slight. But he was nearly white, his wool. Of course, it was lovely wool. There's nothing wrong with it, except for the color saturation. And when I got serious about doing my COD, I knew that had to be fixed. So I brought in some French Angoras. I dabbled with some other breeds as well. And the French Angoras had a lot more success rate as birth rates and making weight. I got some really good stock from Betty Chu. Thank you, Betty. They were glorious. Lady Gigi was one of the main gals that produced several litters for me. And the rings and the color saturation and the body type was like out of this world. And then I had a chocolate num num. He was, I got him as a junior French and I showed him, right? And as he grew up, he was 5 months old and he was too heavy to show as a French. He had so many legs. He won best of breed because he was gorgeous, but I could never register him because it was a DQ. He was too big. He had the bone, but he was a perfect matchup to hook up for date nights with some of my girls, and because we wanted to keep the size going, and he had beautiful rings, beautiful coloring. So when you're working with F crosses, the F1 is the first cross. So if you have a giant and a French, and their offspring is F1. And then you take that F1 and you breed it again, ideally to another giant, right? Their offspring is F2. You don't want two. And then you take that F2 and you breed it to preferably a purebred giant, right? That F2 to another giant, and you have F3s. Now, when you have your F3 and you breed it to a purebred giant, you have an F4. And whoa, you have what I call a purebred giant. Because all of those others, that first French fell off the pedigree. So you can register that F4 as a giant Angora. The F1, F2, and F3, you can't. You can't register it. And we'll get to that in a minute. So keep detailed notes on whatever you do. Very important. I get myself in a pickle. Now here where it gets a little tricky, right? You have an F2, and this is real life. What I've done, I've had an F2 cross, and then I breed it to not just a giant, maybe another purebred French, because he has a really good coloring and he's a grand champion. My little pumpkin spice I got from Carol in California. He's just gorgeous and he's a sweetheart. We breed for temperament too, right? Not only the other attributes that you can see, but you want calm, easy to get along with rabbits. So what are those? You have an F2. I'm calling it an F2 giant. And then you're kind of backtracking and bringing in a brand new breed, right? A French. So yeah, that can muck things up. Don't drive yourself crazy. What I do is I think of that French, my focus, my end game is giants. So if I'm crossing that purebred French with an F2 giant, I'm going to call that an F1 again. I'm going to go all the way back. In my notes, that's what I'm going to call it. Now, if you want to go to the other side of the fence, it's where you can drive yourself crazy, and I do that sometimes. I drive myself crazy. I have that purebred French, and then you have that F2 giant. You can call it an F1 French and go the other direction. You can do so many different things. Your note taking is going to be imperative. And be open and honest with anybody that you're selling or swapping the stock with. Because it's going to take probably beyond my lifetime to get something that's repeatable. Because right now it's a wild card. I have some purebreds in my barn that's been purebreds, but they are the minority in my barn. It's just the way it is. After I finished my COD this last time, I had all this open cage space and I wanted to play. I wanted more genetics. I wanted more recessive genetics. And I actually crossed with a Rex. I know, don't do this. Oh, I wouldn't recommend it. The only reason I would recommend it is if you like to eat rabbit, because one of the things that I try to tell anybody, if you're considering outcrossing, do several things. One, keep really good notes. Do your research. Be open to the potential, but also be prepared for disappointment because it's a wild card. I was both. I was open to the potential, and I was definitely prepared for disappointment. Good morning, Tammy. Good to see you. And so being prepared, don't expect disappointment, but be prepared. That's my motto. We eat our excess rabbit. It's very nutritious. It's really good for you. I don't sell to pet stores or for pet quality generally. I have sold a few to my fellow spinners. It's a personal preference. So whatever you do, if you do any outcrossing, be prepared. We must be good human stewards of our rabbit trees, our critters that we manage. Don't just breed to breed. That's a nightmare. Yeah. So did I really muck things up for you? I will put a link to my little F2. What did I call it? I thought I was pretty clever. Understanding the F code. And I have a little picture with me holding the rabbit. You're effing what? So I'm going to put that on there. And that has the quiz. So if you fill the online little quiz, there's only 10 questions. Pretty easy, but it makes you think. I even give you the answers later on. So yeah, have fun with that. You might get a free sticker. Intent. Now we're going to move on to pedigrees. This is just my perspective. My end game is to get them registered, right? And yeah, I have F1s, 2s, 3s that aren't registerable, but I do sell everything with a pedigree. Some people don't. That's a personal preference. I only know from my perspective how frustrating it is not to have all the information that I could possibly get off of that rabbit. Now, again, the pedigrees are just whatever the owner wants to put down. And some owners aren't quite as open and honest, or maybe they don't have the information. Let's think positive, Tammy. The glass half full. Maybe they don't know, right? So they don't have, or maybe their house burned down or their entire book got lost, whatever it is. They just don't have that information. You have to deal with it. But if you have the information, don't withhold it. Not with the giants. I'm asking, I'm pleading, don't withhold that information. Share it. Be open and honest with what you have, whether it's a F cross or it's something else. And the other thing that's really important is have weights on all the animals. And the reason is, we'll get to it a little bit later when we talk about registration. All those rabbits on a three generations back, all of those rabbits must have weights listed for that rabbit you're taking to the show or to the registrar to get registered. And if you're missing one or two in that lineage, you have to try to backtrack and see who that owner is and see if you can find the weight. And that's really hard to do. I've been there, done that. So if you make a pedigree, put down your weight. Pedigrees, I've used Evans for years, and I'm just heartbroken that they are no longer going to be supporting their pedigree software program because it did everything. Good morning. It's winter down there for you guys too. Holy cow. Yeah, so Evans is no longer going to be with us. I loved it because it was so detailed. It had wool protection, weights, and medications, and it had everything and anything you wanted. They were very responsive. It was a small company. I don't know who ran it, but it wasn't this big conglomerate where you never got a real person. So the few times I had questions, they were very responsive. And yeah, I'm going to miss them. So what do I use now? Well, there's a lot of really good programs out there. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of old and stubborn, maybe, but I don't want to pay a monthly fee for my. That's when Evans, I paid it one time and I had it for life. Well, as long as my computer was alive, right? I could back it up. So whatever system you use, back it up. I don't I don't want to be held hostage for my pedigree information. So for a monthly fee, I don't want to do that. The one thing I do like is the phone app called Who's Due. Have you guys found that? Yeah, I think it's under $10 for a lifetime. Tammy agrees. Holy cow. Yeah, so Who's Due? It's a little phone app. And you know, this little youth gal, she was 12, 14, at a show about a year ago. She was telling me about the pedigree. I didn't even know they had pedigree option in Who's Due. I used it for tracking my nest boxes. Who I read to who, and it gives me this little alert to put a nest box in by a certain date so I don't miss anything. And then it also tells me when they're due. And now they have pedigrees. And she was showing me, yeah, you can click this, and I find out I'm at a show, I can just send it to that person right there. And it's like, holy cannoli. My only bad thing that I had with Who's Due, and it's been a few years ago because I'm an Android girl, I'm not an iPhone, but the backup didn't work back then. And I switched phones and I didn't back up the software and I had to reload everything. And I'm like, oh my God, not until I figure out how to do a backup. I figured that out. So it's back. I can back up my Android phone and then my Who's Due information. So that's what I'm using for my pedigrees. That's what I'm using. I also use right now an old-fashioned Google form. And I have an old video that I did a few years ago. It's pretty bad. I might have to redo it because it was one of the first ones I ever did. And I'm getting a little better, but I was watched it the other day. I'm like, oh my God, that sucked. But it had all the important things. Because what I did essentially is I had my phone. And if you guys have worked with Google Forms, you've probably seen them or used them. I use them a lot. It's free. That's what I really like. I created a Google form for me to fill out. And I only had like 5 or 6 things that I entered. So the first one was the date. Second one was the rabbit tattoo. And then specifically for shearings, I have the rabbit weight before they got sheared, how much it weighed after it got sheared, the primes, seconds, and thirds. So that's several things. And then I had general notes. And then once that form was created, I finagled a way to send it to myself via Messenger, and then I loaded it on my phone, and then I had that as I can't remember what the term is, but I had that on my homepage on my phone. So roundabout way, what I can do now, still, I created this years ago and it works slick. I'm in the barn, I'm at a show, whatever it is, whatever I'm doing, I can click on that date, tattoo, and if I'm not shearing, I skip those, and then I go down to the note section. Maybe I gave them Ivomec, or they won best in show, or whatever I want to put in there, and send. And you know what that does? It sends it to a spreadsheet up in the sky. I never lose it. It's whenever I can get to my Google account, I can get to it, whether it's my phone, my computer, my iPad, whatever I use. That's been the best thing ever. So it's a lifelong history on that rabbit. So when I get to that spreadsheet, usually on the computer, because it's really little on your phone, right? It's little things with old eyes. I'm on my computer. I pull up that spreadsheet. I can do a sort by tattoo number, and I can have the history. I can tally up how much wool he has produced in prime seconds. I can condense it by within a year's time. What is his yearly average? When was his last Ivomec shot? That is my go-to. And yeah, I've been tempted to use Airtable. It's also a database, but more. I've been dabbling with it for about 6 months. I think it's better than Google Sheets. It's just another thing to learn. So that's down the road maybe. But yeah, right now I use Google. I'm a Google gal all the way. A regular form. I'll try to put the link to my very poorly done video if you want. And it's also underneath. It's free if you're interested checking out my Angora Artesian Academy. That's one of the courses that I have in there right now because I had it done. So you get in the academy, you can see that and watch the video and learn how I did that. And that's one of the things that I'm going to probably improve soon. So did I beat to death pedigrees? Probably. Not everybody provides one, but I do. For giants, I think it's imperative, especially when we're working on our color program. You guys, we need that information. So do your best. And this is another little tip that I've learned. And Evans just did it, I think, the last year or so when I am putting in babies. So Juliet had 6 babies, and I make 6 individual pedigrees. Well, as I'm making them, there is a space now in their program to put a weight. And I'm like, why in the world would I have that? And I'm thinking, well, I have that because I've been doing my CNCs, right? Cheek to cheek checks. And I'm evaluating the kits and I'm writing the weights down. So it's like, it makes sense. So the very first pedigree that I create, whether it's in Evans or now in Who's Due, I have that weight. So it might be 5 pounds at what? 6, 8 weeks old. They might be 5 to 7 pounds. Now, if I sell that rabbit, chances aren't real great that I'm going to sell a rabbit that young, but we do sometimes, right? And I send off a pedigree. That pedigree is going to have 5 pounds on that rabbit. That rabbit grows up to be a senior and it's 12, 14 pounds. Let's think big because we got big giants, right? It doesn't matter when you go to register. What matters is every rabbit has to have a weight. Yeah. So at least that one thing is checked off on all my pedigrees. I don't have to worry about is their weights. As I go in and update their database, on Evans, they make it easy. Who's Due, not as easy. It may not have the current weight. Now, this is how I fix that in my barn with the registration process. Not everybody gets registered because we talked about the who's, the F1s, 2s, and 3s, right? And I have several F2s and F3s that have several legs. They could earn a grand champion, but I can't do it because I can't register them. Not until their babies have F4s. And we have to go through that process. So to register them, it's really easy, you guys. It's not that hard. But at 6 months, they have to be at least senior weight. So for our giants, they have to be either 10 pounds or 9.5, 9.5 for boys, 10 for girls. No DQs. They have to have at least 2 inches of wool. Because in the SOP, it's a DQ for under 2 inches of wool. So it can't have any DQs. You have to have a printed pedigree. They didn't used to, but handwritten pedigrees just suck, you guys. We have handwritten stuff, and I don't know about you, but I can't hardly even read my handwritten notes. So let's do the registrars a bonus. Print off your pedigree and take it with you. And double check all the lineage. Everybody has their weights, because that's one of the first things that registrar is going to look at. They're going to look at the pedigree and say, let's make sure they just nod yes, because everybody's going to have a weight. It doesn't matter if it's 5 pounds from when that rabbit was a junior. It just has to have a weight. And if you have the most current weight, that's even better. But if you don't worry about it. You have to have your ARBA card. You have to be an ARBA member to do this. So have it with you, or they have a new app on ARBA that you can have access on your phone. So whatever you do, you have to have your picture of your ARBA card or physically with you. And there's a small fee. Right now, I think it's $6 that you pay the registrar for doing this thing for you. And what they're going to do is clamp the right ear. You're going to have the tattoo of that rabbit in your left ear. So they're going to clamp, usually it's an R with a circle around it. And they have the paperwork is old-fashioned, triplicate. This is what your copy is going to look like. It's going to be, you get the pink copy. There's a yellow copy. You don't get that. And you don't get the original either. You just take the pink one. And what I do is I keep a binder like this at my desk. Oop. And because I'm lazy, lazy is a strong term. I call it efficient. I used to lift the lid to my scanner machine and scan it. And I have it up in the sky and on my Google account. Well, anymore, I just take a picture of it. And that does the same thing. So I have an electronic copy of it. I have a paper copy and I have an electronic copy. So in about a month or less, you'll get the registration back. And it'll look something like this. It'll be official. And this is a red seal. That means her parents, this is Sweet Thing, her parents are both registered. Now, if you get both the grandparents, parents and all the grandparents registered, then you get a red and white seal. And guess what? If you have all 3 lineage, the parents, the grandparents, and great-grandparents, you get a red, white, and blue seal. That's my goal. I want that red, white, and blue seal. You know, of all the years I've been doing this, I don't have any. Because I keep doing this hybrid stuff. The F2 and F3. I don't have. I could keep doing just the purebreds, and there's some people do, and that's good for you. I personally think my giants need a lot of work still. So that's why I'm doing this critiquing. And even my Rex crazy thing that I did, I ate a lot of rabbit, don't get me wrong. But I'm up to F3s now, and they're phenomenal. Some of the things I don't like is they don't have near the wool production my purebreds do. They just don't. They're slow growing. Yeah. But the crimp, the body type, the color, the wool structure, it's a little different still. It's getting better. It's getting closer to what I want in my giants, but it's not the same. But is it bad? No, no, no. But of course, I want wool production. I want it all, right? I want that great body. I want the ear tassels. I want the furnishings. I want the sweet dispositions. Am I greedy? Yeah, yeah. So as I'm working through my F series, I'm always looking at what my goals are. Who's a good matchup? And if it's not a purebred, then it may not be a purebred. Yeah, it may not. I have an F2 cross. He's mostly French, and he's got the perfect wool structure. And he's got great color saturation. He doesn't have a really good body, but he's got everything else going for him. He's got the woolly front feet. I just love him. Kahlua. Oh my God, he's gorgeous. But he's mostly French. And then his sister is mostly French. That's like buttercream. I don't know if you've seen any of her pictures. She looks like a French. She acts like a French. She's kind of big. Yeah. So she's big like a giant. Well, I'm going to hook her up with one of my giant boys soon, and I'm going to see if they can make some big, beautiful giants, because her coloring and her body type is phenomenal. She's a fawn, and then one of the things I love about her and some of her siblings is their color. They don't have any stray spotting. She's a clean fawn too. Have you guys seen those? They just almost glow. They're so pretty. They don't have any that, they call it smut. God, that's a horrid term. I don't like that, but that's what they call it. And that's when the tips of the ears are a darker color. That's if it's a black-based fawn or a chocolate-based fawn. A chocolate-based fawn will have the lighter. Yeah, I think she's a chocolate. I don't know what she is, to be honest. But I know. I know her future. I'm going to match her up with one of my giants and see if we can't continue making really big, beautiful, and keep going towards my path of making big, beautiful colored giants. I want the giant wool. I want big production. I want those big tassels. I want the furry feet. Sweet. Yeah, I want it all. So anyway, get your rabbits registered when you can. It's not always easy. During COVID, holy cow, everything was shut down. I was in full production mode. I had a lot of giants. Luckily, I found a registrar that was fairly close to me. And I just made appointments for her personally. Took anywhere from 3 to 10 at a time. We met her in her backyard. I had all the paperwork. She had the forms. She registered them, tattooed them, and I went back home. Well, nowadays, because we're doing shows again and everything's opened up, every show has a registrar. So if I have a rabbit that I need registered, I always take a copy of their pedigree. I make sure that I have my ARBA card and at least $6, right? So I can check out that registrar and get them paid, give them the pedigree, and get them registered. And some of my intermediates, they make weights. Sometimes they don't. They're on the borderline. One thing I've learned the hard way is I've had some intermediate boys that are 9.5 pounds. I'm like, oh God, let's get you registered. I take them to a show and they stop eating. They lose a couple of ounces. So it's like, I can't, yeah. So if you can wait till they're at least a half a pound or more. And another trick I learned too is if I register them early as an intermediate, 9.5 pounds or 10 pounds for the girls. And maybe they get up to 14, 12 or whatever. And it looks good on paper, right? You want to update that. But you're thinking, I can't. I already registered her or him. Well, you can. All you do is take the same thing. You take, actually, if you have it, the registration papers or a copy of the pedigree with the registration number on it, right? You're going to have that on there now. Pay $2 to the registrar. They're going to look it over, just the same thing they did before, but it only costs you $2, and they're going to update that weight limit on that registration, and you'll get a new registration in the mail. Now, another thing that I like to do, if that rabbit kept winning, do I have any? Oh, I do. Dahlia, look at this. This is her registration. Did I? I didn't get her grand champion. Some of them, or did I? I'm trying to look at my notes. Oh, I did, Miss Dahlia. If they get 3 legs, this is a purebred, they qualify for a grand champion. So your registration number and your grand champion number should always, always go back right onto your pedigree. Always, always. And what that does for you as a breeder, it gives you more trust and recognition. Yeah, rabbits without any of that, they can still win and they do really good. My F series are proof of that. I went to one of my first conventions and it was an eye-opener. I had some stunning purebred giants. And you know who won? I talked to the owner later and congratulated her. I wanted to know more about that rabbit that won. It was a hybrid. She had no idea where it came from. She didn't have paperwork on it. Her specialty was satin Angoras. And she goes, oh, it was in coat, so I decided to bring it. And it won best of breed. Yeah. So that just goes to show it doesn't matter what you have or what paperwork you have. It doesn't mean squat, really, on the quality of that rabbit. Now, if you're building your rabbit tree and you're building your reputation, it means a lot. Because I can't tell you how many times I've sold registered rabbits or their parents have been registered, and then I've seen those future owners say that they have registered animals, but they have not registered a single rabbit themselves. So I'm like, So they're using my reputation, which I don't mind. So far, it's been a good one. Good, bad, or ugly, right? But if you're building your own reputation, this is one way you can do it. Register your rabbits. You don't have to go to shows to do it. Look on the ARBA website. You can find judges. You can find registrars. Email them and ask them, hey, I see that you're only 20 minutes from me. Could we hook up and could you register some of my rabbits? Do it. What would be even better is if you have a little party. Maybe you have some friends. You want to have a registration party. Yeah. So, yeah. There's a way you can do it without having to go to a show. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should have mentioned today. You know, I managed to talk for a whole hour, you guys. How do I do that? It's just... I just amaze myself. I can go on and roll. But anyway, my main objective was to clarify what the F code, what the effing is that? When you're talking about crosses, it can get really mucky in a hurry. And have fun with my little quiz. Get a free sticker, you guys. Go through it. It's kind of fun. Make your pedigrees. And if you can, register your giants. Right now, you can only register white and chestnut, but sometime in the future, we can register all colors. Wouldn't that be just too cool? That's my pie in the sky. Anyway, I'm going to stop jabbering and call it a day. I think I'm going to make me a nice hot cup of coffee and I don't know what. I was going to do some stuff in the rabbit barn, but I think I might break out my knitting needles. Something, or better yet, my spinning wheel. Anyway, you guys have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay? Have a good one. Thanks, you guys.